Hey everybody, it's Dave. I'm back with episode 3, number 3 already. It happened really fast. Episode 2, I was exhausted. It was the end of the week, but I think we got some pretty good material. People seem pretty angry about me talking about artificial intelligence, which is always a good thing because everybody believes it's the next big thing. Today, sitting next to me is my co-founder on Wino. We created our first baby together. It's called Wino. And we're going to talk about that a little bit today, but we're going to take, like always, your live question and answers. Phil is behind the camera and over there, and he's going to basically feed us a couple of questions that you ask over my Quora feed. I'd really appreciate if you ask questions over Twitter as well. It helps a lot. So let's jump right into it. Phil, what do we have today?
How should I invest $3 million?
Oh my God, I could get in so much trouble for answering this. In single stocks. No, absolutely not. How should I invest? Who asked that? Anonymous. Okay, anonymous. If you really made $3 million, the worst place to ask for financial advice in the universe is probably over Quora. I don't think that you want to take any kind of advice that you get over Quora seriously when it comes to your hard-earned money, especially if you had a liquidity event. But we do get asked that kind of question a lot, actually. I get asked questions because we know wealthy folks and we work in the banking industry all the time about that. I think the best way to go about answering how to invest money is to talk with qualified financial advisors. And I say that not as an old school industry guy, but actually because you'll get the best, most well-rounded answers there. And I think that the way to go about it is, part of the reason that we founded Winome was to try to figure out how people react to that. What do you think, Michi? How would you take that?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, you definitely need to talk to someone that has the basic knowledge about that, and all we could say would be just wrong. And the other thing is you want to talk to people that are, or to advisors that are unbiased, so you want to really have a trust relationship with that, and that is mostly related to them not having conflicts of interest, or at least that you know what kind of interest the advisor has, if she or he gives you some sort of an advice. But in the end, it starts out with, I think, getting around, if this is your first 3 millions ever, what the hell is investing, and what the hell do I do with it, and how do I do it? And then in the end it gets down to the more technical things. And that's also then the second step would be something that you could do on Wino, where you basically say, okay, now I know what investing is, now I know what I can do. Where are my providers? Where is a guy or a company that I can talk to or that I can invest in?
I mean, part of what we're seeing in the industry is that or outside the industry, is if you do come into money, if you've worked hard and made a lot of money, it's super hard to know how to invest it because you don't know, should I use a single stockbroker? Should I try to figure out my own investing strategy? What's wealth planning? What are stocks? What are bonds? The basic education and gaining trusted relationships to any kind of advisor, and then really making decisions around what you're going to do with your money is very difficult for people because earning money for them is super important and is one of the big reasons that they started their own businesses in the first place. So what else do we have for questions today, Phil?
We've got one question from Danny. Danny asked, what are some unique services wealth management or private banking firms provide to their clients?
So unique services that private banks or wealth managers provide to their clients, from Danny.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. Unique services, I've seen exotic services. I've seen all kinds of international travel to events done across the banking industry. I've seen...
walking the dog.
Walking the dog. I've seen, not just aircraft financing, but aircraft refueling, but really advisory from medical and what kind of doctor should I use, who do you know? And I think a lot of the advice that you receive from financial advisors in the end has to do with your trusted relationship with them, and it goes beyond just money. So it goes into the personalities of the people. Who do you know? Who do I know? It's about your class of people and about the network. And I think what you're doing when you're buying into a higher end wealth manager or a private bank financial institution is you're buying relationships. You're getting access to a class of people that you want to have to do with. There's an old saying that you're as rich or as poor, you make the same amount of money as your 5 best friends. And basically, as people come into money and they've launched good, successful careers or businesses, they are, even if unintentionally, looking for upgrades in terms of their culture and their class of people and the advice that they get. What else do you think about that, Michael?
Yeah, I think it's like that, and in the end, it's not depending on how much money or how much wealth you have. In the end, it's not more in a certain area than not more about investing and stuff like that or valuables. It's more about your values. So, what are actually the things that you like to grow, and then it goes beyond investing, and it's really like family management or clan management or concierge services, like we call it. So there are a lot of things that you would not expect from as a unique service from a private bank that you actually can get from a private bank. And it's like it's like you have a lawyer, you have a doctor, and you have a banker to a certain extent at a certain point in time, and that's about the same thing.
One thing that we've seen with Winome and with other companies that we've looked at in the fintech industry, to bring it back to fintech, is people who move from the affluent into the upper echelons of wealth should be able to notice the difference, because the way you're managed as a family afterwards in sort of what's called the high net worth space, so people with many, many millions of francs in spare wealth beyond what they just own and work with every day, they get a different level of service because they're used to that, and you become used to that. And you actually manage wealth more as a family, so you take a longer term perspective, and you take a very sustainability oriented in a lot of ways. Not just sustainability investing, but also the way that you go about managing money, because money doesn't actually matter that much when you have a lot of it. You just want to know it's safe and what's happening with it, but basically it's the least of your concerns. You're worried about your reputation, your family, how your kids are getting educated, what you're being exposed to, what you're learning, how your businesses are doing. And these things are super important as a more wealthy person, and whether or not you spent $100 last night on dinner really doesn't matter. So, that's part of the mystique that we're trying to demystify in launching Winome and other initiatives from my innovation hat as well. What other questions? We'll take another
I've got one more question from Lucia. What are some fundamental knowledge I need to have to start investing?
From Lucia, what are the fundamental one or two things I need to know to start investing? You want to go first on this one? It's right up your alley.
It's kind of the similar one that we have with the first one, but it's just, in my view, it's just like having at least an overview of what is there and what does all the banker lingo mean about whatever portfolio management, strategic asset allocation, just to drop a few words. You need to. It's like learning to drive. You need to know what all the bells and whistles mean in a car, and that's the same thing. And then you want to have some insights into what are strategies for investing. So what Dave always said before, what is long term, what is short term, what is the difference, and you also want to learn about risk. Investing, in my view, and that's a very naive view, has also to do with risk. You give your money into something that you believe in, and that has a certain amount of risk. It's like any venture that you take, being with money or without, you have to learn about the risks that are involved in that, my view.
Yeah, so go slowly, very slowly, painfully slowly when you first start out. Don't bet on one or two people or one or two asset classes or investments. I think best thing you can do is learn educationally as much as possible about investing from all the people who will approach you once they've figured out, he has something to invest. You'll find a lot of friends really quickly. But differentiating who can be a long-term sustainable partner, whether it's a person or a service or a set of products, is almost irrelevant to the long-term strategy. You really have got to get your sense of what you want to achieve with your wealth in the longer term, where you want to invest in. It might be your own education or a house or mortgages or traveling instead of just investing to make more money or for whatever reason. So, it's a really good question from Lutz. If we're good for today, keep asking us questions. We really like this format. I'm getting a lot more interaction and a lot more enjoyment out of coming into the team in the office in launching things like we're trying to launch. You can become pretty distant to people quickly, and there's a lot of conferences that take place and stuff, but where I find the most interaction is direct from people. So please send us more questions. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
So let's take some questions. I like questions. What do you guys got?